The Charlotte Ledger Podcast is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
Hey, it's Cristina Bolling with the Charlotte Ledger, and you're listening to the Charlotte Ledger Podcast. To learn more about the Charlotte Ledger or to subscribe to one of our newsletters, visit thecharlotteledger.com. This episode of the Charlotte Ledger Podcast is brought to you by Apparo, a Charlotte-based nonprofit that supports other nonprofits through technology and business process improvement. From small daily trouble spots to more complex systems issues, Apparo is here to help with free and low-cost nonprofit resources. Apparo provides advice, education, resources, training, grant programs, and facilitates projects with the support of skilled volunteers so nonprofits can address their most pressing technology challenges. Talk to any nonprofit leader, and you'll often hear about the challenges that come with trying to provide much-needed services for the community while also managing the business end of things that must be done for growth and stability. That's where skilled volunteering comes in. Skilled volunteering allows volunteers to share their skills and professional experience with charities. For example, a nonprofit might need help designing its website, but it doesn't have the staff, time, or money to do so. So a skilled volunteer trained in web design could take on that task. Today, we're talking with the leaders of 3 Charlotte area nonprofits about the topic of skilled volunteering and how it's made a difference in their organizations. We're joined by Angie Bush, CEO of Hospitality House, which provides housing and support for families who travel to Charlotte to receive health care services, as well as Pete Vacho, Vice President of Operations for Veterans Bridge Home, which helps connect veterans with the resources they need to be successful and thriving leaders in our community. Also with us is Kim Lanphear, CEO of Apparo, which is a nonprofit that helps other nonprofits by connecting them with volunteers in Charlotte's technology and business sectors to improve the way they deliver services.
Thank you so much to all of you for joining me today. I wanted to start by having you all tell us a little bit about your organizations and the work that you do here in the Charlotte community. Angie, if you might go first.
Sure, glad to do so. Angie Bush, Hospitality House of Charlotte. We are a health equity organization. We provide access to healthcare for people who are traveling to Charlotte for vital medical care to happen. So they need to get into town for treatment, and we're here to lodge them.
How many people did you serve last year? How large of a group do you serve each year?
We serve more than 2,400 people annually that come into Charlotte for treatment, and it's actually not even enough. We are bursting at the seams, and we have about 300 people a month that we are unable to lodge in-house.
Wow, Angie. So do people come from a very far distance, or are a lot of them from, the Carolinas, but just too far to travel daily to come into Charlotte for care?
Hospitality House of Charlotte has hosted people from all 50 states and from 42 different countries. However, the vast majority of folks are traveling from rural North and South Carolina counties where perhaps their rural hospitals have closed, and or maybe they're just unable to get a certain level of specialty care that people can get when they drive into the big city here in Charlotte.
Pete, let's talk to you for a minute. Tell us about Veterans Bridge Home.
Sure, absolutely. So we're a regional veteran serving organization where we're in 5 communities. We're in Charlotte, Triangle, Sand Hills, and also South Carolina. So we're in 5 communities. We have a little over 100 to 150 partners in the area. We serve approximately 4,000 to 5,000 service members, veterans, and their families in the region.
So you both have organizations that serve a lot of people each year.
Yeah.
And growing. Yeah. We're both growing. So yes, It's a good thing.
Kim, tell us about Apparo and the work that you all do.
Absolutely. My name is Kim Lanphear, and I'm Apparo's Chief Executive Officer. And we've been in the community for 20 years. Apparo is a nonprofit that serves other nonprofits, and we serve them and have for those 20 years in North Carolina and South Carolina, and mostly in the Charlotte region, but we have grown into the Raleigh region and the Atlanta area as well of the last 18 months. And our job is to work with organizations like Veterans Bridge Home and Hospitality House and others to help them be more effective at what they do. I made a speech last night and I said, Apparo doesn't make the paint, we make it brighter. And that is a good description of what we do. The nonprofits are making the paint. They're out there serving on the front lines, making sure that the people and issues in our community are being met. And we work behind the scenes with them to help them do things that are they're behind the scenes, the business of what they do. And we do that by bringing in skilled volunteers from the community, specifically around the area of technology. So we don't want Angie or Pete to be technologists. We want them to be the incredible leaders of organizations that serve, that they are. And so we want to help them and bring in the top skills that we can in technology to help them to be more effective.
That's a great segue into what I wanted to kind of talk to you all about next, which is when people, I think about nonprofits, if they think about the mission, the reasons that they started, the people that they help, and like those sort of direct services that they provide. But you don't always think about all of the infrastructure that goes into making it all happen. And I'm wondering from Peter and Angie, can you talk about some of those challenges as you have seen your organizations grow, those sort of infrastructure challenges that come up when you're trying to meet the needs in the community?
Absolutely. I'll jump in. This is Angie from Hospitality House of Charlotte. One thing that I have certainly noticed is specifically if I tell people what I do for a living, that I'm a CEO of a charitable organization, it's kind of met with this, oh, isn't that so sweet? That's great. And certainly I am really, really passionate about this mission of health equity. However, what I'm actually running is a business. And there are business-related needs that this facility has in order to function. And sometimes I feel that people don't quite see that because I get it. It feels great to talk about the mission part of it, certainly does. But without the infrastructure behind it, that doesn't exist or doesn't exist well. We need to be able to access our tools that we use from home and from different places. Certainly during the onset of COVID, we saw that need there. You have to have technology that is there and is efficient to make the work happen. So there's a lot of things. It's like under a hood of a car. The car itself might look really glitzy and everyone may love it, but without an adequate engine that's actually powering it and making it go, we're really not going very far, and we're not going to address the needs that that are critical in our society.
Got it. Peter, do you want to jump in?
Oh, absolutely, Angie. Thank you for that. Yeah, we're a business with a special code from the IRS. I mean, that's first and foremost, that's what we are. We are a business with the unique ability, staff, et cetera, to take care of individuals, in our case, veterans, service members, and their families in the region. But right, we have the programmatic side, but then you have this beast on the other side that is finance, HR, and technology. And there's a couple of interesting pieces to that. Is one, yes, any well-rounded business needs to have those pieces, but to make the business strong, have those daily operations, those finance, HR, and technology are so important. And so another interesting piece is that, as we all well know here, is when you apply for grants, they're mostly, if not all, programmatic. They're specific to their programmatic side and not the administrative or 10% of the side. So it makes it a little bit more harder to have the amount of people needed in finance, HR, and technology to support the other 90%. They're the ones working in the business, and on the admin side, we're the ones working on the business. So, yeah, especially for us, we've finally started to come around the proverbial corner and hired, which is hired an HR person. But that's where it's so important to have organizations like Apparo, because we've had no IT person, and I had to wear and still wearing the IT hat, and Pete Vacho, who is, worked at sports for 20 years and wasn't an IT person. That was Kim and her group at Apparo were just so well needed and perfect to assist Veterans Home becoming better at that technology side of our house, which we desperately needed and still needed.
I wanted to see if you could talk about how long you've worked with Apparo and how getting that specialized help in has changed your organizations or helped you, I don't know, maybe meet some goals or deliver services that would have been hard or impossible to do otherwise.
Sure. I'll dovetail off that conversation. So I came more from the I worked for the Carolina Panthers for 18 or 17 years. Came over to Veterans Home in August of 2018, and I think I met Apparo 6, 7, 8 months in, and it couldn't have been better timing because when I came in and saw people communicating just on email, and I would name this person's name, but the person having like 10,000 emails in their inbox, I knew that was the first flag. We need some IT help, and we need really quick. And so we connected somehow, some way in 2018. As everybody knows, COVID happened in 2020, 2021. We did such a large pivot, Christina, that we went from this 1998 sort of IT feel where everything is via email to Apparo helping us basically from the ground up build our entire SharePoint system and the entire organization, which was only like 11 or 12 folks now. Now we're up to 41, 42 in utilizing that structure. And then COVID hits, and like what a blessing that was. A literally perfect time where we're going to COVID if we're all remote, and that old way of doing business that we were doing would have really worked out. We would have been as effective or efficient, and most probably we would have been as effective and efficient serving service members, veterans, and families had it not been for Kim and Apparo and her staff helping us make that big pivot to just become better at technology, utilize it better, understand it better. And they took just little amounts of time to help train staff as well for that year and a half before COVID.
And I just have to lean in because, what you're saying, Pete, is just so important for the community at large to understand. Both you and Angie have talked about it, and I'm just so passionate about this. Nonprofit, the nomenclature nonprofit implies to the world that we shouldn't be making profits, that we shouldn't be running a business, that we should be, on the front line serving, but not thinking about anything but that service. But it really is important to think about how the service happens, because if it just happens randomly out of passion, it's not as effective. It's not reaching as many. It's not reaching with ease to a population of individuals who it's hard to reach oftentimes. So how do you do that more effectively when it's not really what you do, right? It's how you do it. It's not what you do. And we have just found in our journey, working with nearly 900 nonprofits, that all nonprofits, large and small, they don't have the capacity in this space to make their business stronger. And so how can we use the skills of the community to bring them in and not duplicate or have to hire so many more people? Because again, we don't want Pete, we don't want Angie to be technologists. They are really good at what they do. They serve, they're knowledgeable, they know their constituencies. They do an amazing job of what they do. So what can we do to help them with the area of technology to plug in? And that's just really important, I think, for us all to hear that has to happen for nonprofits.
Angie, how did you know that you needed the help from Apparo, and what did that look like, and what impact has it had?
Well, it's so interesting. So my foray into working with Apparo started in 2011, I want to say. So it's been about 13 years now. And I didn't know what I needed exactly. I knew that there was a lot of work to be done and that we were growing. And initially, it kind of started for me when people were coming to me to have me buy different things. Oh, we need this, you need this software program. It'll do this. You need this kind of hardware. This should do this for you. But these were salespeople. These were folks that were trying to sell me things. So they didn't have necessarily my best interest at heart or the best interest of the patients and families that we serve either. So I needed someone who was going to kind of stand in that gap for me and help us make decisions that put on our hat with us and got in the trenches with us to make that happen. And that's what I found initially with Apparo was that. So we were able to figure out not only, hey, will this software solution work for you? Yes, but will it also talk to other things that you have already in place? And by the way, perhaps you can even streamline and get rid of some things and move things together to make things work more effectively. So that was going to solve some angst also for our workers, the people, the teammates that I have here that want to do their jobs really well and don't want to be frustrated by systems that are either not talking to each other or are just clunky and don't quite do all the things we need to have happen. So we've done a number of different types we've gone through a number of different types of programs with Apparo, from the Technology Innovation Award Program, which is now called Mission Possible. We've had a tech therapy service. We do training. We got WordPress trained. I mean, we've done so many things with Apparo. And the thing that's beautiful is that it's kind of grown alongside us. So it's gone from assessing maybe software needs. Now we're thinking more about cybersecurity and putting things in place that are going to move us into the future. So to Peter's point and Kim's point before, this is a business. And we want to steward the donor dollars, the grant dollars that we receive the best way possible. And part of the way we do that is by having this infrastructure in place that allows us to do the work that everyone wants us to be doing in the community. So I do think that there is a need to kind of some of the thinking that charitable organizations do not need to put money into these kinds of infrastructure systems, be it HR, accounting, technology. You just have to have that. And I think that now, maybe, hopefully, more people are on board with that. With the onset of COVID and having to go home and having some people work remotely, we were an essential service. People still were getting cancer during the pandemic. So we needed to be able to help people still. And our work with Apparo made that possible. They brought us to the cloud before it was even a cool thing to do.
This episode of the Charlotte Ledger podcast is presented by Apparo, a nonprofit amplifying the impact of nonprofit missions in our communities through technology.
Was that something that really would have been impossible otherwise, Angie, in terms of doing that technology upfit and getting into the cloud, which now seems like we laugh because it seems like that's where everybody is, but it wasn't always that way.
Right.
I'm wondering what, as nonprofits, I imagine that your organizations are used to having volunteers as part of what you do. And I'm wondering, how is it different to have this kind of skilled volunteer base in your trenches? And how did your staff and your employees respond when that help was coming in, or it continues to come in?
Yes, I could put my practical hat on for this question. And I think for those that are listening, I think two key outlets really come to mind, and that's important for any organization, home, etc. Is time and money, which are guardrails or impediments to a lot of getting things done in your business or at home. And what I want to say is that Apparo really breaks those barriers down in terms of, we're just unable to hire an X amount per year, technology director, and they make the process, they create additional time. They're a force, what we call a force multiplier in terms of time, and the skilled volunteers, like I said before, you're not having to hire that FTE or PTE to do it. And again, what a wonderful gap that Apparo fills for us. And so having those skilled volunteers come in, it really changes the organization. And again, I'm just talking from Veteran Control because it happened to us tremendously, where again, our ultimate goal is to help as many service members, veterans, and families as possible, and having them there by our side, being a force multiplier to help us serve more. It is the best outcome that we can possibly want. Extremely under budget, right? It's the best of both worlds. Again, for those that are listening, those are, in my opinion, those are two big barriers, and Apparo just breaks it down. They make your life easy, better, simpler, and make your organization more effective and efficient.
Do those volunteers become like almost like staff members as well? I mean, are they long-term relationships that you have, or, do some pick up where others leave off? How does that work? Or how has it worked for you, Pete?
I would consider our own family. That's the great thing is that, Kim was talking about passion that flows down in and throughout the organization with all of her staff. Like that is, when you work with them, you get to know their family, where they're from. It's not just one directional, it's bi-directional. They're wonderful people. You get to know, and you get to the point where you consider them family, and it's such a wonderful relationship that we have with the staff members. Appreciate the invite that they had at their annual event. It was just wonderful to see everybody again, because it was a couple of years when I saw one person, but it was kind of like seeing an old friend. It was just kind of like picking up where we left off. So it's nice.
I cannot tell you how nice that is to hear, Pete. We have an amazing team. This is Kim again from Apparo. And I wanted to lean into part of your question when you were asking, Cristina, about, the dynamic of the volunteers that we bring in as well. And I think there's something interesting again, for the community who want to volunteer to be aware of, that there's a power dynamic for volunteers. When you come in and want to volunteer to a nonprofit, they perceive you as a gift. You're coming in with your time and you are special to them. And you could even maybe become a donor, which would then make you even more special. And there's a power dynamic in that. And so many times a volunteer will come in and want to do something, and it's hard for a nonprofit to say, no, we want to meet you where you are, and we want to take the help that you want to offer. But sometimes there's a deeper help that we need. And Apparo fills that kind of that translation gap in the middle of the volunteer and the nonprofit, so that we kind of direct how the volunteer is going to come in, so that it's something that the nonprofit really needs. And what I see as a result is it's a very rich relationship that's built, because the volunteer is coming in and not forcing what they want to do on a nonprofit. They're delivering what the nonprofit is saying they need. And as a result, this trust begins to develop. And then those volunteers, they do stay longer. They sometimes become board members. They become volunteers at long-term in other ways. And that's kind of exciting to see.
That's great. Angie, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add, and fine if not, but happy to have your voice.
Well, I think that when these skilled volunteers come in, they bring such a breath of fresh air. A lot of times, like I've been at this organization for 18 years now. For many charitable organizations, we may be used to doing things a certain way for a period of time and have done it maybe for several years that way. Somebody coming in with a fresh way to do something that links something together or gets rid of two programs that you don't need to use anymore, it is incredible. It's invigorating. It just brings something so rich to the organization and brings new life to it in a way that others don't see, because other people are just seeing maybe just the programmatic side of it, but it makes the people that work here feel empowered too. Maybe they're learning a new skill, and that is enriching their job experience. And we have to be able to do that too here, even at charitable organizations also. And I'll say that with the skilled volunteers we happen to have, during the time when we were doing our community impact project, we were engaged with a skilled volunteer that got so passionate about what it was that we were doing. They ended up buying us all new laptops from their corporation. It was incredible. I mean, it was just it was an astounding kind of time. And we kind of just kept talking over the years since then, because I think what people may not even know when they engage in skilled volunteering with Apparo is how much it will give them. So people who do maybe a job all the time at their work corporately that come in to volunteer here feel so appreciated, and they see who the end user is. Who are these people who are, in Peter's case, these veterans and families, and in my case, patients and guests that are coming in. Once they get in and get a glimpse of that, they are also energized. So it's a win-win for all of them.
I'm wondering if Pete and Angie, you can help us understand what the trickle-down effect is of having this support if I am a veteran or a veteran family or a patient family. I'm not seeing the technology, I'm not seeing the behind the scenes. I don't really care what's in your cloud, but how does it help? How does it affect maybe the services that I receive, or what is the benefit? What is sort of the trickle-down benefit to me?
Well, in my case at Hospitality House of Charlotte, this is Angie again. When you notice it from the very first moment that you were come to check in. So a patient and family member come to check in at Hospitality House, and the first thing they're going to do is they're going to need to get room keys, which require technology to work. They're going to make payments for their rooms. People make donations for people to stay here as well. All that happens electronically. And then one thing that as people are here during the time of their visit, they may also need to receive documentation that they're providing to maybe their insurance carrier or different things to be reimbursed. So those things all come from our system that's at front of house at our hoteling kind of software system. So that's a very practical way.
And for Veterans Rich Home, it really is the speed of communication that helps us serve more service members, veterans, and families. It's having the proverbial everything at your fingertips, ease of access, the efficiency of sharing information, finding information, getting information, sending information. But it also on the veteran, service member, veteran, and family facing side, technology is so important because, like Angie mentioned, same thing happens here. If we're at an event, we're having them fill out an assistance request form that goes through our technological system, which gets them directly into our other technology platform called Unitas. So the gap of putting all that information is already done for us via technology. So that creates this speed of use for our staff internally be able to get this assistance request form for, again, a service member, veteran, family member, and immediately start working on it. Another quick practical case is, again, like Angie, when we have veterans walk into our space, they fill out an online form, really short, really easy. But what it does is it's really cool and unique is that once they're done finalizing it pings the specific team members' team's channel and lets them know that, hey, so is here to see you. They just arrived at 10:07 a.m. And so that way, they're pinged, they see it, they can go check out their file, and they go see this person all within less than probably 2 or 3 minutes of them arriving at our office.
So really practical applications like you're talking about. Yeah. Kim, I'm wondering if you can help us understand how people can get involved with Apparo, either if they are in a nonprofit or if they want to volunteer.
Absolutely. So the easiest way, of course, is a website, and nonprofits are .orgs. So our website is apparo.org. And there's easy places where you can click on volunteer and how to start, and you just fill in your name there. And if you want to, then we will get in touch with you. That's the easiest way. And then there's also a nonprofit place where you can say how to start. And again, we will reach out to you. That's the easiest way. If you know somebody who knows us and you have one of our emails, just reach out. We definitely respond to that too, to get you going even faster. And we would just love to have you more people involved and helping more nonprofits as we can.
Great. Well, Angie Bush, Peter Vacho, and Kim Lanphear, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's a great conversation.
That's it for today. The Charlotte Ledger podcast is produced by Lindsey Banks. To learn more about the Charlotte Ledger, go to thecharlotteledger.com. This episode of the Charlotte Ledger podcast is presented by Apparo, a nonprofit creating a mutually beneficial ecosystem for nonprofits and skilled professionals with a passion for creating social good. Learn more and get involved at apparo.org. That's apparo.org.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.